This is a scam awareness video about a scam that specifically targets victims who are willing to act in a dishonest or unscrupulous way. Now, I'm sure that's not you, dear viewer, but I think there's still something interesting to look at here. You may or may not have seen comments like this one on YouTube or elsewhere on the internet. Thanks for sharing such valuable information. I need some advice. I have a SafePal wallet with USDT and I have the seed phrase: aquarium, friendly, decline, shark, bucket, piano, shout, apple, expand, satellite, catamaran, detergent. What's the best way to send them to Binance? Now, I'm no crypto bro, so some of the exact detail that follows might not be precisely correct, and anyway, will be simplified according to my own understanding, and in order to just describe this whole thing accessibly. Let's break this down. The first part, thanks for sharing such valuable information, is a little bit of chaff or distraction that's supposed to make it look like genuine praise for the YouTuber whose video this is posted under. It's just supposed to make this comment look, at a very brief glance, like it's a positive and acceptable comment. I need some advice. I have a SafePal wallet. SafePal is a service that people use to buy, sell and manage cryptocurrencies such as Bitcoin, Ethereum and so on. When you have an account with SafePal, you can create things called wallets, which are sort of logical containers for storing cryptocurrency values. You can create these through an app, but they also make physical hardware wallet devices that can be used to store cryptocurrency. These wallets are secured by a seed phrase, which is a bit like a password, but it's composed of a string of 12, 15, 18 or 24 words, and it's used to identify, secure and encrypt the wallet. So if you have an account with SafePal or something compatible with it, and you know the seed phrase for a wallet, you can open the wallet and see and access the cryptocurrency values inside it. By the way, I should probably mention at this point that the seed phrase I showed and read out earlier in this video is just an example I made up, but that's what they look like, a string of at least 12 random words. So this comment, taken at face value, looks like some very naive person who owns cryptocurrency has just given away their critical wallet credentials on the public internet. What a foolish thing to do, or it would be if this were not a scam. Here's what's supposed to happen next. The comment is seen by a person who knows that this would give them access to the wallet, and that this represents an opportunity to steal the valuable contents. Or maybe it's just seen by someone curious, and the temptation to steal comes a little bit later. But it's a trap. At this point, some of you will already be asking why I would be making a scam awareness video with the intent of protecting or even warning dishonest people. Good question, and I will answer it later, and if you want to jump straight to that answer, here's the timestamp. But anyway, on with how this scam works. The victim of the scam uses the seed phrase to access and open the SafePal wallet, and lo and behold, they find that it contains a large value of cryptocurrency, usually one called USDT, a currency that is designed to maintain parity with the US dollar, and there's maybe $10,000 worth of it in the wallet. At this point, the victim is supposed to act out of avarice and decide to try to take this money for themselves. So they try to withdraw it, but they immediately hit a problem, and critically, it's problem 1 of 3. But also critically, problem 3 isn't evident yet, but we'll get back to that. Problem 1 is that a network fee is required in order to get the money out and send the currency somewhere else. Problem 2 is that this network fee can't be paid using a portion of the USDT value in the wallet. It needs to be paid with a different token called Tron or TRX, and unfortunately this wallet has none of that currency. No problem, reasons the scam victim, because the fee is only some small fraction of the potential profit, so they buy the required value of TRX and deposit it into the wallet. Now they should be able to pay the fee and make off with the $10,000 in there, right? Wrong. There's just one tiny snag, which is problem 3. The scammers have this wallet set up so that all transfers out require 2 independent authorizations. This is the electronic equivalent of a conventional paper check requiring the signature of 2 of the authorized account signatories to be valid. The victim of the scam doesn't have this dual authorization information, and so they cannot complete the theft of the 10,000 USDT, and they can't even claw back the TRX they deposited in there for the fee. The scammers also have some automation set up so that the TRX that the victim paid in is promptly transferred away to a different wallet, and now the trap is baited and ready for the next cycle. So yeah, this scam is specifically tailored to try to exploit people who are sufficiently opportunistic as to steal money from someone who appears to be acting naively in sharing their seed phrase. Or, I suppose if you wanted to be a little more generous, you could call it something a little bit like entrapment. Maybe it's meant to tempt or induce a curious person to steal who wouldn't normally have thought of doing that. Either way, they deserve what they get, right? Well, okay, maybe that's one way to learn a lesson, but I think it's also possible to learn that crime doesn't pay without ever needing to commit the crime. And indeed, that's the method I would most heartily recommend. It's how most of us learn about right and wrong. At some point in my own life, I learned that there might be adverse consequences for doing wrong things, and I learned most of that without having to do all of those wrong things and then find out the adverse consequences firsthand and painfully. But thinking about the adverse consequences was part of my decision process. So this video exists partly for that purpose. It's information. If you're a person that would jump at the chance of swiping money off someone acting naively online, you could use the information in this video to inform yourself of the potential consequences of that kind of action and reflect on whether it might be simpler and better for you to just behave honestly and decently instead. But there is also another reason for making this video. This is a tactic that scammers happen to be using at the moment for this specific purpose, to scam people who are prepared to be dishonest enough to steal. But there's no particular reason why this tactic or a variant of it mightn't turn up later as a facet of some other form of scam, where the victim might be the completely innocent target of some form of fraud, for example. I can actually think of some scenarios for that, but I won't go into further details, as I don't want to give anyone free ideas on how to scam people. And perhaps the simplest reason for putting out this warning is that I don't think these scammers are the right people to be enforcing standards of lawfulness and decency. That is, if I made a list of all of the people and organisations that I trust, or at least that I recognise as holding a legitimate position to establish and enforce lawful and right behaviour, I'm certain that random crypto scammers would not be very high up on that list. As a more general piece of information, I suppose the lesson or message here is that not everything is what it seems. This scam actually bears some resemblance to the advance fee scams that I've talked about a lot on this channel, where there's a requirement for the victim to part with money in order to supposedly gain money. Anytime you find yourself in that situation, it's important to stop and think very hard and question, is this really right? Maybe ask someone else if what is in front of you sounds right. Anyway, if you see comments like the one I showed here, it's definitely a scam, and all you need to do to avoid this scam is continue being the honest and decent person you already are. I would also recommend replying the above comment is a scam if you see it in a place where you don't yourself have the direct power to delete or moderate the scam comment. I hope this has been interesting. Thanks for watching, and I hope to see you again soon.